Alright, greetings. Well, this is going to be part 5 to What If Female Deku with Apollyon. And this one is probably going to be the finale of the series. So, let's get into it. So, when we last left off, Apollyon was still in her quarters, dealing with the death of her older brother. As it comes around to the overhaul arc, with Apollyon deciding to go out and get some fresh air, as she is walking around in her armor, as a young girl ends up bumping into her. Now, we all know this young girl is Aerie, and she notices her, she sees Overhaul exiting the alley thing. I'm sorry about my daughter, she always causes so much trouble. As Apollyon knows something's off, as Apollyon is on guard, as she then asks, if this is your daughter, then where's her mother? As Overhaul doesn't know where or what happened to Aerie's mother, he begins to stammer as he's trying to piece the story together. With Apollyon noticing that he's taking one of his gloves off, as she slowly reaches around her back for a dagger that she has on her, and just as Overhaul takes off his glove and goes to touch the ground, Apollyon then takes out the knife and ends up stabbing Overhaul right in the middle of his hand, with him yelling out in pain, with Overhaul then ripping the knife out and placing all of his fingers down on the ground, where spikes begin to pop out, as she would then jump backwards to avoid getting stabbed by the spikes. With her then placing Aerie down somewhere safe and tells her to run while she deals with the Overhaul. As the main members of Overhaul's gang begin to show up, with if you heard a pop there, sorry about that. That was my shoulder. As the main members of Overhaul's gang shows up, as Rappa is the first to step up to go and fight Apollyon, because he's always wanted to. Hold on. Sorry about that, as Rappa has always wanted to fight Apollyon. As he would then begin to throw punches, which Apollyon begins to starts blocking and countering by and parrying them by catching them and just redirecting them, with Rappa eventually tiring out, with Apollyon hitting him right in the jaw, punching him right in the jaw, which knocks him out, as Apollyon then ends up dealing with the rest of Overhaul's gang, with Overhaul being the only one remaining. With him then basically merging with that, you know, the guy who could basically take people's life essence and make himself bigger and larger? Yeah, Overhaul absorbs him as Apollyon knows that she's outmatched here, as she starts to use as she begins to use her quirk with bringing in the catapults and using the corruption blade a little bit, since there are multiple since there are not many civilians nearby. There aren't any civilians nearby, but Overhaul's gang members are nearby. So every time Apollyon slashes Overhaul, he gets weaker and weaker due to the corruption effect that's going on. As Overhaul slowly and slowly gets weaker and weaker, as his colossal body then collapses, with Apollyon then stepping up to where Overhaul was, as she ends up raising her sword, as she then stabs into Overhaul's torso, killing him. With Overhaul dealt with, Eri is then taken in by the heroes and is looked after by Aizawa. And now, since Apollyon couldn't go to Island, Two Heroes happens. The events of Two Heroes just happens without her, and they go the same as they did in canon, and the events of Heroes Rising happens the same without her being there, as eventually in the late future, Apollyon and Aizawa, since this was a ship, end up getting married, and Apollyon eventually retires from being the leader of the Blackstone Legion, and gives that position up to Kendo, who is her successor, as Kendo then rules the Iron Legion, while Apollyon goes into retirement with Aizawa, as she then lives the rest of her days in peace. And that's where the series is going to end. I'm sorry if it isn't as long, it's just that this was done on short notice, so I do hope you enjoyed it. And for those of you who have made it to the end of the video, you guys get a little sneak peek at the what if I'll be doing later on, with an image. Hold on, let me go into gallery again. There we go. Here we go. Here's a little hint to what the next what if is. So, adios.